Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emphasized that Israel will exhaust all options before deciding to launch an extensive military campaign against the Islamist organizations in the Gaza Strip. A day after the aerial strikes on Iranian targets in northeastern Syria, Israel vows to continue to obstruct the Islamic Republic's efforts to entrench itself militarily in Israel's northern neighbor. The one-year anniversary of violent Palestinian riots along the Gaza border with Israel will be marked tomorrow, with organizers calling for a million-strong march against the Jewish state. The truce seemingly continues to prevail on Israel's southern frontier with the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. After a rocket alert siren was heard in the Eshkol Regional Council early this morning, the IDF spokesperson's unit hurried to release a statement confirming it to be a false alarm. That said, while the cessation of hostilities holds, tensions continue to run high, with a senior Israeli defense official telling TV7 that any minor aggression emanating from Gaza is capable of provoking a wider escalation. That is why the Israeli military continues to deploy additional forces to the enclave's border, keeping its preparedness on the highest level of alert. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu conducted a surprise inspection of the front line, during which he held a meeting with IDF divisions and brigade commanders. Thereafter, Netanyahu attended an inauguration ceremony for a new section of Israel's main cross-country highway, during which the Prime Minister underscored that only after all possibilities have been exhausted, Israel will go into an extensive military campaign.
אני בא עכשיו מגבול רצועת עזה. אני נפגשתי עם מפקדי האוגדות ועם המח"טים שנמצאים בקו הראשון. אנחנו מהדקים את טבעת הביטחון סביב רצועת עזה. בימים האחרונים אני הנחיתי לעבוד כוחות, להוסיף כלים, להיות מוכנים למערכה רחבה. ידעו כל אזרחי ישראל שאם נידרש למערכה רחבה, ניכנס אליה חזקים ובטוחים, ולאחר שמיצינו את כל האפשרויות האחרות.
On the matter of the Golan Heights, Prime Minister Netanyahu took the opportunity to respond to international condemnation by re-emphasizing Israel's appreciation and support for U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights.
אנו פועלים בכמה זירות במקביל. לא רחוק מכאן נמצאת רמת הגולן, שהנשיא טראמפ הכיר בריבונותיה עליה לפני 3 ימים. זהו הישג מדיני כביר למדינת ישראל, ואני גאה על כך שהייתה לי הזכות להעביר אותו לכל אזרחי ישראל אחרי 52 שנים.
With regard to Iran's ongoing efforts to entrench itself militarily in Syria, the Prime Minister confirmed Israel's continued resolve to prevent Tehran's aspirations. However, Netanyahu stopped short of claiming responsibility for the alleged Israeli attack against Iranian targets northeast of the Syrian city of Aleppo.
מעבר לרמת הגולן נמצאת סוריה ונמצאת גם איראן. איראן מנסה כל הזמן להכניס לסוריה טילים מדויקים, ארוכי טווח, מאוד מתקדמים, מאוד קטלניים. איננו מוכנים לקבל זאת. והפעילות שלנו נגד הניסיון של איראן להתבסס צבאית בסוריה ולהכניס אליה נשק מתקדם, הפעילות שלנו נמשכת כל העת.
While initial details on the attack, which were reported by TV7, could not verify the intended targets of the alleged Israeli bombardment, it has since been confirmed that the targets were an Iranian weapons factory and warehouse in which precision-guided missiles were stored. Furthermore, the report by the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights claimed that at least 7 people were killed and 5 wounded, all of whom members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps or Iranian-backed militias. Meanwhile, shortly after the attack, Israel announced the closure of its airspace over the Golan Heights to all flights over 5,000 feet. Now back to the Gaza Strip, where a year has passed since the start of weekly protests along the enclave's border with Israel, dubbed the March of Return. The anniversary will be marked tomorrow, with organizers calling for a million-strong march against the Jewish state. Even though participants have long maintained that the protests are of a peaceful nature, despite widespread coverage of the violent riots, they do not hide their ultimate goal of annihilating the Jewish state to return to lands they claim to have lost during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War.
للأسف لحتى الآن ما حققتش شيء. بالعكس لا يعني احنا بنتمنى انها حتحقق، هي حتستمر وحتضلها مستمرة سنة سنتين ثلاثة لو على طول لحد ما نحقق أهدافنا، لحد ما ننال كل مطالبنا.
It is important to note that while most of the Gazan population does not dare to openly voice opposition to the Hamas-backed protests, some Palestinian farmers are having a hard time concealing their frustration due to the fact that the so-called peaceful protesters time and again destroy their crops.
وهالوقت تعون العودة يجونا إلهم سنة بيجونا بخربوا لنا الشجر وبخربوا لنا الخضر اللي بنزرعها وبروحوا بس إيش بس هالغاز وهالهذا بيسطلونا هاليهود وبنروح الواحد بتضروخ الضروخ ما بيقدرش.
Meanwhile, record levels of rain this year have led to the blossoming of once burnt Israeli fields, rendering the Palestinian use of incendiary airborne weapons ineffective. Nevertheless, Israel's Fire Rescue Brigade is not sitting idly by. According to the brigade's Southern District commander, preparations are being made for when the fields are once again dry, which inevitably will bring about another plague of the heinous phenomenon.
Our work assumption is that this terror will start all over again in the minute that all this green that we see all around us will become yellow and brown, and then the Hamas and the other organization in the Gaza Strip will launch their balloons and the kites again. And we are making a very big drill here to be ready to every development that can happen.
The main victims of what is referred to as the terror of kites and balloons are Israeli farmers, whose fields are situated along the Gaza Strip. According to one of the farmers, this year he plans on harvesting his crops before the lands dry out. He explained that the costs are too much to bear. That is why, instead of using the yields for the purpose of feeding humans, the harvest will be used to feed livestock.
As you see behind me, there is a wheat field. Now it's green for our luck, because if it was dry, the Palestinians probably burn it. And now we are going to harvest it green as a food for cows, instead food for people. In this time we have to wait until it dries, so we prefer to cut it like this and to cut the problem.
In efforts to thwart the root of this kind of terror, Israel is currently building a concrete wall along its border with the Gaza Strip. Additional measures include the implementation of technological developments that aim at downing the balloons before they cross into the Jewish state. Thus far, however, the measures have not proven successful, as Palestinian Islamists continue to launch clusters of balloons attached to explosive devices, including mines and grenades, intended to harm Israeli civilians. Thank you for joining us. You can also watch us at tv7israelnews.com or at tv7.fi. For more updates on Israel and its region, visit our Facebook page or YouTube channel at TV7 Israel News. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Mayan Hessen. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again on Monday at the same time.